Coming up today in episode 214 of Husavik Heroes, we kick off our last European campaign of the save with a rematch from last year's final against Manchester United. Before then, we do our squad overview, a bit of a domestic and transfer recap, and also we'll keep an eye out on the other Icelandic teams in the Europa League and the Conference League. That's coming up after the intro. To Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. If you're looking forward to the start of this last European season of this save, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we do have a few things that we do need to cover off that have happened off the back of the Super Cup and the group stage draw in yesterday's episode before we do get stuck in to our squad overview and this first game of this new Champions League campaign. If you did miss that episode yesterday, I will leave a link to it over in the top right corner. First things first, we have just been able to boost up our club balance and transfer budget a little bit off the back of what was quite a disappointing amount that they did leave us in our transfer budget. We got rid of a few players who just weren't good enough and also couldn't quite fit into our squad for Champions League due to registration. Anderson Guehi and Hamid Alipour have both gone out on loan to Real Sociedad, so they should both be important players for those two teams. Quite good players, but unfortunately couldn't quite fit them in, needing to register some other players due to the homegrown club and nation commitments. They have gone out on loan. We also got rid of Alvaro Aizpurua on a permanent transfer. He has gone to Nice for £20 million a player who unfortunately just was never really going to be good enough for us here at Völsungur. He had 2-star current ability and 3-star potential when he was at the club. A pretty versatile midfielder, but in the end wasn't a good midfielder in terms of our squad. So we let him go for £20 million, the 22-year-old Spaniard, and that was off the back of signing him back in 2035 for only £6 million. So a quite profitable transfer for us there. And that does mean that when you guys do take over this save at the end of this European season, there is just that little bit more in the transfer budget coming up now close to the 40 million mark, especially if you adjust that wage budget of around about £250,000. But next thing that we do need to cover off is our form domestically off the back of yesterday's episode, and it has been very good. We continue to go undefeated in this current season. We picked up 2 6-0 wins off the back of that Super Cup win. Then we took on Fjolnir in the Icelandic Cup semi-final. Absolutely demolished those guys by a scoreline of 9-0. Our next game off the back of this opening one in the Champions League group stage is the final against Hafnarfjordur, albeit Hafnarfjordur are a team in the division below us, and at the stage of the save, I don't know if that's going to be the most entertaining game to show you guys. If it is, I'll bring you guys highlights at the start of tomorrow's episode, but that's definitely a game we should be winning, and based on recent form, quite comfortably as well. So that is the reason that we are not going to show you guys that game in today's episode. Just think that that might end up being a little bit of a waste of time against the team who we should be beating very, very comfortably, being in the division below us. And of course, these days with us being 4-time Champions League winners, off the back of that, we took on Fylkir. As you can see, absolutely battered them there by 8-0 hat-tricks to both Agatigere and Adam Saki. And that win did lock up the title here in the top division in Iceland. So that was the last time that we are going to win that trophy, finishing the whole season. And we do it with a lot of games to spare, absolutely thumping Fylkir by 8-0. So that was the day that we did seal the domestic league title here in Iceland. Yet again, I believe that is for a 17th straight season. And then off the back of that, another very comprehensive win over Glota by 6-0. So that does mean, as you can see, we have wrapped up the league title 18 points clear of HK. Fylkir are just stumbling a little bit now, down in 4th on the league table and quite a way behind HK with 3 games left in their season. It looks a little bit tough for those guys to try and get themselves into a Champions League qualifying spot for next season. They might actually end up in Conference League qualifying next season. Of course, they are the defending Conference League champions, but HK currently in second with a Conference League spot for qualifying next season locked up. Nuts KR in third, and Phil here and Akranes do look like they are going to finish in a European spot in some form, but at the moment it looks more likely to be a Conference League spot and not anything higher than that. That is what the league table does look like with only a few games left, but we do not need to focus on that at all now. Probably just going to go through those games very, very quickly, make sure that no players get injured in those games, but apart from that, we'll just fly through those and focus entirely on the Champions League now that that trophy is wrapped up. And truth be told, with that cup final being against Hafnarfjordur, we should be winning yet another domestic quadruple in our last full domestic season of this save. But we have confirmed our squad for this upcoming Champions League campaign. So for the last time, we are going to compare this squad to what they did look like this time last year before we do take on the team which we did defeat in the final late last week. And here is what our first 11 does look like. It is exactly the same as it was from last season. A few changes to the bench, but in terms of our starting 11, in goal, Carl Vollen still very, very good at 29 years old. In terms of his progress, pretty similar to this time last season, but still a world-class goalkeeper. At right back, Redenko Krolo, another 5-star current ability player, still only 24 years old. He has regressed a little bit since this time last year, but not too much. Still a very, very good option for us here. At Völsungur, at centre-back, we've got Filippo Dinelli, these days the club captain, 4-star current ability and potential, yet again a little bit worse than he was this time last year, but not by an overly noticeable amount. And alongside him, we do have Busaroge, who actually has gotten a little bit better since we did one of these a year ago. And at left back, it is Jonathan Berger. These days only got 4-star current ability and potential, has regressed quite considerably since this time last season, but is still a very good option there over the likes of Louis Herrera, who will be our backup left back for this upcoming season. Defensive midfielder Alain Bisicki, he has improved greatly with that first team football that he got last season, up to 4.5-star current ability and potential, is the 25-year-old Belgian. Alongside him in the midfield are our French friends, who of course did a good job against Man United in the Champions League final at the end of last week. Lassana Doumbia in the box-to-box midfield role, as good as he was this time last season. And alongside him, we have Benvenu Bayer on 4.5-star current ability and potential, also very similar to what he looked like this time last year. And then we go forward to our front three, Agustin Agatire, another 4.5-star current ability player, just a little bit better it looks like than this time last year. Out on the left wing, Jean Yves Lapase, of course he was a new addition for us last season, performed very well, just regressing ever so slightly, but obviously still a world-class talent. And up front is the talisman of our attacking unit here at Völsungur and Adam Saki, and he continues to improve a little bit, and that is good because these days he has a lot of pressure on him from the young Icelandic striker in Ori Porhalsson. So that is what our first choice 11 looks like going into this upcoming Champions League campaign. And if we make our way over to the second 11, you should see in terms of the starting 11, most of our backup players for this upcoming season. The backup goalkeeper is Axel Porvaldsson, the Icelandic goalkeeper, and he will do a decent job should he need to be called upon, though hopefully we can get through with Carl Vollen in goal, as he is quite a bit better than Porvaldsson. The backup right back is still Pedro Lemos, these days only 2.5-star current ability and potential, but is still a good player and has improved just a little bit since this time last season. At centre-back, Erdan Shaiti put in quite a bit of pressure on Busaroge in terms of his star rating. In terms of attributes, nowhere near as good though as Busaroge for that ball-playing defender role that we do use, but 4-star current ability and potential there for the 22-year-old out of Kosovo. And alongside him, we have Gabriel Kapan, 3-star current ability and 3.5-star potential, has improved just a little bit since this time last season. As mentioned earlier, our backup left back is Louis Herrera with 3-star current ability and 3.5-star potential, the homegrown club and nation player out of Mexico. In terms of our backup midfielders, Cristiano Limoeiro, our one new signing going into this upcoming season for the first team. He is our backup defensive midfielder, and obviously not much has changed since we unveiled him in yesterday's episode. The backup midfielders, Bruno Costa, still a very, very good backup for the Sana Doumbia and is still only 23 years old as well. And alongside him, Marcelo Jr. these days, 4-star current ability with that 5-star potential. He is going to be putting some pressure on Benvenu Bea. I would say towards the end of this upcoming European season, he is improving greatly with some football in that backup team. And then we get to our backup front three. Maurizio Menga, 4-star current ability. He continues to improve really nicely for a player who we didn't think had that much potential, so he's doing a good job, is the Argentinian come Italian. Out on the left, we have Christopher Allargard, who can also cover right back for us on the bench, so quite a versatile player. Is the young Dane at 22 years old, has also improved a little bit since this time last season. And up front, it is what I guess I would call the Icelandic Erling Haaland. He does look like quite a promising striker for the national team, who are actually doing quite a good job at the moment in UEFA qualifying. So by the time we actually get to the end of this European season, the Iceland national team might have finally qualified for a major tournament. But Oripur Halson, 4-star current ability, 5-star potential, a very, very able backup should we need someone to step in for Adam Saki. And he can also cover out on the left wing decently as well, should we need to use Christopher Allargard as a right back instead of a left winger. So I think that's quite a good core for this Champions League season coming up, and hopefully we can defend our title. Other players who we can call upon, the likes of Berkir Barkasong, a young homegrown talent who can cover right wing. We've still got Narek Voskanyan, who can cover the midfield and up front as a striker. And alongside those players, we do have Premzel Bokek. Once I can find him, there he is, right at the top of the substitutes. He is listed for transfer. He did request to leave, but the transfer window now has closed. He is a left back come centre back cover who is not the greatest player. We'll try not to use him if we can help it, but if we get injuries, he will probably be the defensive cover who does come in to the squad. So not too much change since last season, but it does look like a very, very strong Völsungur team, and hopefully we can pick up the Champions League for the third season in a row and make it 5 times in the save to wrap things up. And according to the bookmakers, our chances of doing so are very, very high, even shorter favourites, I think that is, compared to what we were last season. I think last season we were £3, maybe £3.50. This season, £3.25 to be winning the Champions League for a third straight season. And as you can see, the team who is also in our group, Manchester United, are the second favourites, with Real Madrid, Man City at £12 and Hertha Berlin sneaking in there as a £19 shot. So we are the favourites to be taking out the Champions League for a third straight season. But here's what our group does look like for the Champions League this season. Obviously, as mentioned before, we do have Manchester United in our group. If you didn't watch yesterday's episode and haven't caught up yet, we can just tell you guys in here, we're also taking on Chaves out of Portugal and Galatasaray from Turkey. So this is definitely a group we should be getting out of. It just depends what order, and the 2 games that we do play against Manchester United are going to be oh so important in determining exactly that. And we do kick things off with the home one of those games. A quick look at Manchester United before we do get into this first game of our Champions League campaign. Obviously a 5-star reputation club, and we are very, very familiar with them, having only beaten them in the final at the end of last week. It does look like these days they are playing a 4-4-2, and in terms of personnel, very, very similar to what we did take on in that Champions League final at the end of last week. They currently find themselves third in the Premier League, albeit still very early days, but 3 points behind both Chelsea and Manchester City, who have got off to unbeaten starts, but they are certainly a contender in the Premier League. As you can see, they have won it 4 of the last 5 seasons, albeit recently our record against them in Europe is quite good. So hopefully that continues in the group stage of this season's Champions League, and we can get a top spot seed for the first knockout round draw, should we get that far come the end of this week. But I think it's time for us to get into the lone game of today's episode, a rematch from last season's Champions League final. We'll come back shortly from my arena as we take on Manchester United. And here are the team sheets for our first game of this Champions League campaign. As mentioned before, we are at full strength and a quite strong bench as well to call upon. Here are Manchester United with that 4-4-2. A few changes from what we saw before on the club info page, but hopefully we can get off to a good start here at home. And going forward to the 21-minute mark for our first highlight of this first group game, it starts off here with a corner to Manchester United, who probably have just had the slight better of things in the early stages of this game, albeit still being a bit of a feeling out process here between the two teams. They are on the front foot early. Alex Mariba makes his way into the box. He goes down. Doumbia stands on the ball. Thankfully, no penalty given. Was just wondering what was happening there for a second. Nice ball over the top here, ho, for Adam Saki. Here, though it should have been, but he puts that wide. Good chance for us to open the scoring, but still 0-0 after 25 minutes. And we are very close to half-time in this one. Just that one highlight in this first half so far. And we have one right before half-time here, starting off with a throw-in to Man United. They put a ball in the mixer, which we do deal with, albeit they are going to keep possession off the back of that. And Santa Maria plays that one back for Alex Mariba. Things have started to even up in terms of stats, but a good interception there from Jonathan Berger. You will also see Radenko Krolo is on a yellow card these days. That's something we might have to deal with come the latter stages of this game or half-time, depending on how things do look when we do go into the break. But Jonathan Berger, nice ball there for Bienvenu Bayer. That's a nice ball for his French friend in Lassana Doumbia. And yet again, just like last week's Champions League final, the French friends link up, and it is Bienvenu Bayer with the ball forward to Lassana Doumbia. And right before half-time, a brilliant time to score. We do grab a 1-0 lead here at home. Lassana Doumbia not being marked there by any defenders puts that one away in the bottom right corner. And I think that should be enough to give us a 1-0 lead here going into the sheds. As you can see, very, very even game so far. We might have just got the edge there in the latter stages of that first half in terms of the stats, and definitely through that goal to Lassana Doumbia. So pretty happy off the back of that late first half goal. I think we're just going to tell Radenko Krolo to ease off tackles for now, and hopefully he can last out there and not pick up a red card. We'll see how things are going around about the 60-minute mark, or if we can grab another goal and make it 2-0. But we'll get things back underway here with a 1-0 lead against Manchester United. And in fact, there's a highlight immediately off the restart, off the back of giving that team talk, just telling the boys that we're doing well, but we could do better, and hopefully we get on the front foot a little bit more here in the second half, but just knocking the ball about in our defence here off the back of the restart and try and get something going here down our right-hand side. Agatigere actually does quite well there to keep possession. Radenko Krolo, nice ball there for Bienvenu Bayer. He tries to pick up another goal against Manchester United, but this time that shot is pretty well saved by a Dean in goal for Man United. We put the ball in the mixer off the back of the subsequent corner, but Basicki heads that over the bar, and still 1-0 Völsungur. And only a few minutes off the back of that opening highlight of the second half, we do have another Manchester United looking to play out here in defence off the back of a goal kick, and they do get out to Barrios on the left-hand side, back to Santa Maria, but that ball does have a bit too much on it, and Radenko Krolo can play that back to Calvo, and now it's our chance to try and play out from the back, and hopefully we can pick up a cushion goal here and just grab a bit of a break on Manchester United and get 3 all-important points in this first game of the group stage, which is at home. 3 points here, pretty essential, because if we do slip up a little bit here, it does give Manchester United the potential to end up on top of this group. And if we do slip up against one of Chavez or Galatasaray, that does mean we could end up potentially falling into the Europa League. And there is a very messy sequence. There are a few block shots initially off of Agatigere, but in the end, the ball does fall to Bienvenu Bayer. He tucks it away in that bottom left corner. Yet again, one of the French friends does score, and we do grab that cushion goal that we were looking for. It was a shot there from Agatigere, comes off a United defender, and Bayer with a pretty simple tap in there, and we do grab a 2-0 lead with around about 40 minutes left. And off the back of that, I think we're going to play things safe here and take off Radenko Krolo on a yellow card. A few good touches to start off the second half, but we will bring on Christopher Allegard for him as we take a 2-0 lead. And very shortly off the back of that second goal and first substitution, we have a corner, and Filippo Donelli gets his head on the end of that. It just bursts through the hands of Ismail Adine, and now we are in a very strong position here with 35 minutes left and a 3-0 lead. Doumbia finds the head of Donelli, and Adine should probably be keeping that one out, but can't. And all of a sudden, we make it 3-0. And very shortly off the back of that third goal is Manchester United here with a throw-in, as they need to try and work their way back into this game now, I think, if they want to pick up anything out of it. But so far, quite a good performance from us. 3 goals either side of half-time, albeit that ball does just fall straight to the feet of Jonathan Berger, and we might get yet another chance here on the attack. Lassana Doumbia plays that one for Busaroge. We just try and get something going here as we steadily inch our way into the Manchester United half, albeit play that one back to our defenders, and Denelli will now eventually get it up to Doumbia. He finds Adam Saki, albeit that's a poor ball there, looking for Agatigere, albeit a poor ball there from the Man United player, and we might get a chance here on the counter-attack. Agatigere falls nicely for Adam Saki, but puts it wide yet again, and it does remain 3-0 coming up to the hour mark. And very shortly off the back of that previous highlight, we are going to make our second substitution. Lassana Doumbia down to a red heart, Bruno Costa to come on for him. And about 10 minutes off the back of that second substitution, we are going to make our last one now. Same reasoning, Agatigere down to a red heart, Malizio Menga to come on for him, still with a 3-0 lead. And with 10 minutes left in this one, we still hold a 3-0 lead. There is another highlight here, albeit Manchester United have probably left it a little bit too late here if they want to get something out of this one, albeit a good chance there for 14, but that shot was pretty much straight to the path of Carl Vollen, albeit a little bit of a scrambly save there. Certainly could have kept that from going out for a corner, though. Thankfully, Busaroge does deal with the subsequent danger and keeps it at 3-0 inside the last 10 minutes. And we have just entered injury time here in this first game of the Champions League group stage. This is going to be a very, very good result for us here. 3-0 against the team which we did beat in last season's final. The team who were ranked as the second favourites for the title this season, and behind us, that is a very, very strong start here to our Champions League title defence. A quite convincing, in the end, 3-0 win over United, and that is thanks to 3 goals either side of half-time. Always a great time to score, and that proved the decisive factor in this one, and then slightly edging most of the stats, and that's a pretty good performance to start off this Champions League campaign, and should put us in a pretty strong position to be finishing top of this group. Hopefully we can go to Old Trafford and at least avoid a loss, and if Manchester United slip up before then, we could put ourselves in a really good position to be ending up on top of this group. Interesting to see that Chavez picked up a 1-0 win over Galatasaray, so that could be a top of the group clash potentially coming up in tomorrow's episode. But a good start for us there. We go top of the group nice and early off the back of a 3-0 win over Manchester United. We'll come back shortly and check in on the other Icelandic teams in the Europa League and the Conference League. And we've gone forward a few days off the back of that good start to our Champions League campaign. As you can see, a day prior to the Molkebikkeren final, we might actually have to put out a rotated team for that final, but even still, against the team from the second division, should be a game that we are winning quite comfortably. But it is time for us to check in on what happened in the Europa League with the 2 Icelandic teams there. And we start things off with Natskar in Group B. Unfortunately, as we did somewhat expect, they are going to be in for a tough time. It does look like they suffer a defeat at home to Red Bull Salzburg. They did grab a goal back in the second half, but 2 first half goals does mean that Salzburg come away with the 3 points there. 2 away wins as well, as Rangers pick up a win away from home 3-2 against Valencia. But for now, Natskar, bottom of the group in tomorrow's episode. They are travelling away to take on both Rangers and Valencia. Will be interesting to see how they get on in those 2 games. And unfortunately, down in Group G, things are not much better for the defending Conference League champions in Fylkir. They suffer a 2-0 defeat there away at Leicester. That is due to a hat-trick by Ben Beachy, who is quite a promising striker. At least he was a few years ago in this save, is still being in the goals. Obviously, they grabbed one back in the 59th minute to make it 2-1, but then conceded a third not too long off the back of that, albeit it was a game away from home. So hopefully they can find their way back into the reckoning to potentially get out of that group into the Europa League knockouts, albeit going down to the Conference League might not be the worst thing. Also quite interesting to see that Basel are top of the group off the back of a 3-0 win against Lazio. And in tomorrow's episode, Fylkir have 2 home games against those 2 teams. Hopefully they can get back on track in those ones and get themselves inside the top 2 to potentially make their way into those Europa League knockouts. And of course, we also have HK down in the Conference League group stages. And some slightly better news down here, HK with an away trip to take on Omanoia of Cyprus, and they did pick up a 1-1 draw, got an early goal there in the 5th minute, but unfortunately 5 minutes before half-time did concede an equaliser, and that is how things stay, albeit are in a top 2 spot early doors, so could potentially get their way out of that group if they can hold their form, albeit tomorrow a difficult assignment as they take on a Villarreal team who did pick up a 3-0 win over Ilves, and off the back of that they do host Ilves, so hopefully they can stay inside that top 2 at the very least come the end of tomorrow's episode. But that will do things for today. Our squad overview, a bit of a domestic recap where we're pretty much on the verge of winning yet another domestic quadruple, our last one of the save of course, and we also pick up 3 points in our first game of the Champions League group stages against Manchester United. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Tomorrow we will come back and play the next 2 games in our group stage. It's 2 games which we should be winning, even though one of them is away from home in Turkey against Galatasaray, but off the back of that we do host Xavi, as those are definitely the 2 teams that both us and Manchester United should be defeating in this group, albeit a slip up for Manchester United would not be the worst thing. It could put us in quite a strong position to get out on top of this group with potentially a game or 2 to spare. But I would say wins for both us and Man United coming up ×2 in tomorrow's episode. But you never know what can happen in Football Manager, but that is what you'll have to look forward to in tomorrow's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.